What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Trust Your Boy podcast. My name is Stephen Wright. I am joined by Mr. William Monroe. Will, how are you doing?
Steve, mixed emotions. I've got a couple of games that are coming down to this Monday night, and some look good, some look bad, some are right down the middle. So it's going to be an interesting night. Split allegiances, I'll say.
Yeah, we need Hopkins to not do anything.
Yeah, 8.7.
You need him in our home league.
Yeah, I mean, I got Stafford and him, so...
So if you just, make that sacrifice...
Yeah, Stafford outscores Sony by 8. I should be able to win with nothing from Hopkins.
Yeah, wouldn't that be ideal?
Yeah. The big one, I told you, I think 2 of my playoffs started this week.
Yep.
And one of them I lucked out and got a bye. The other one I'm playing, and it comes down to a Monday night kicker.
Oh.
Yeah, I need Matt Gay to get 8 points, which you'd think that would be like pretty easy, but that's like pretty close to his median in this league here. And it looked more bleak because I had in that game last night, I had Devontae Adams and Mooney going against the Packers D. So that late Adams touchdown, really, because I was down by 15, so I was going to need a miracle from a kicker. Now I just need 8, but he's only projected to get 7.5. So
yeah,
it will be interesting.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, his median is 12, 9, 10, 7, 7, 8, 8, 8, 12, 4, 8. So he's right there, in that 7, 8 range. So it's going to be a tight one. I'm going to be rooting for some kicks here.
Yeah, woof.
I'm down by 7.5, but no half points in kicking, so 8 it is.
Yeah, we'll see.
Couple of field goals, couple of extra points would be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, a nice, I don't know if Matt Gay's capable of hitting a 50-yarder, but I don't know him off the top
The only
of my head,
good thing it is in Arizona, so it's inside, so hopefully that helps. The kicking.
Yeah, if you could start the day off with a 40-yard field goal or something, that'd be nice.
That would be ideal.
Yeah, I guess we will see.
Yeah, but so we've got waivers here today going into the playoffs, so an important round of waivers. However, I feel like more and more the important thing really is just the streaming QBs and defenses, because there's not too much else.
Yeah, I hope you're not relying on your waiver wire this week. Something that I know all too well, having AJ Brown down on my team. It's been a bit of a mess trying to plug that hole. So yeah, I feel the waiver wire pain, but yeah, let's, you ready to jump into it?
Yeah, let's get it.
Cool. So, looking at the running back position here, 2 guys really jump out. I think that's Rashad Penny, and then what's his first name? Chris Reynolds? That doesn't sound right. Craig.
Reynolds?
Yeah, it's Craig Reynolds. Yeah. Penny 21% rostered, Reynolds 1%. Amazingly enough, you figured that would be 0. Both had really good weeks. I'm assuming you're probably interested in both, right? Well, at least Penny.
It's funny. I pull up Craig Reynolds. It says 1% rostered, and then it gives you recent trend plus 1% since last week.
Of course.
So a few leagues, I guess, that don't have any waivers. I know I was in one a few years back where there's no waivers. The free agent pool was open at all times. So Sunday was just chaos of people adding and dropping people throughout the day, dropping someone they thought got hurt. It was a chaos league. So good that there is that thing, but there may be a couple leagues out there, and that's why Craig has a 1% rostership here. The thing that I think is interesting with him now is he obviously looked good, and we'll see if they go back to him, but there is talks that Swift gets shuts down because Detroit's not very good. They got their 1 win, so they're not going to go winless. Do they just shut him down and save him for next year?
Yeah, I really don't see a reason to play him.
Yeah.
Why risk a bigger injury, If you play him on your last game of the year, he tears his ACL or Achilles or something, you're going to be kicking yourself.
Exactly. And I'm sure he, wants to be out there, and some, who knows, maybe there's some incentives in, roster or in the way his contract's structured, and it's more of, he wants to be out here for something like that. You don't want that to, put a rift between a player and a team. But yeah, it would just seem, as long as we're all on the same page that, hey, let's build this for next year and have you healthy and ready to go.
Yeah, I agree.
But a lot of people relying on him, so that'll be one to monitor here this week.
Yeah, definitely. So I would imagine, at this point of the year, you're probably burning your entire fab on Penny, right?
Yeah, I think you have to. I mean, tough matchup with the Rams coming up, but he looked like, ultimately the biggest thing is he looked like he had some juice left. Like he still has the athleticism that people were excited about when he came out, and he just couldn't stay healthy. So, I mean, I think you need to roster him. You probably, maybe he's flex worthy, but with the amount of COVID cases popping up in the NFL, I'd say the last week, but even just today, I just got notification to see that Alexander Madison went on the COVID list. So, like, there's going to be people unexpectedly throughout this week that pop on there. So you're going to have to be, head on a swivel, ready to pivot. And you're going to need to pick these guys up because there's a good chance you're going to be starting them because a couple of guys are out. And I think that's another plug for making sure you're putting, your Thursday night game, which is Kansas City and Chargers, in your starting lineup. And then Saturday, too. There's Saturday games here with Vegas at Cleveland, New England at Indy. Important to make sure you get them in your starting lineup out of the flex position to give yourself more flexibility in the event a COVID issue pops up there on Sunday morning.
Yeah, you definitely need that increased flexibility, especially this time of the year. Next running back up here, Ramonday Stevenson.
Yeah, more of a friendly reminder. It's surprising that he is available. I mean, 56% of leagues, so not all over the place, but still, I mean, I know we try to keep our threshold at 60 or less, so interesting to see that he is that he's available, and he's playing Saturday against the Colts. So somebody that I think, maybe you don't have to play. I mean, I think he's probably flex potential, but absolutely you have to roster him because if there's an injury ahead of him, he seems like he is going to be a plug and play.
Yeah, and you'll have to keep an eye on it because Damian Harris did injure his hamstring in the last game, but obviously they had the bye week this
Coming
week.
Off the bye.
Yeah, so he could be healed up, but yeah, he's a bit of a roll of the dice. I think it was the Buffalo game. It's like the entire first quarter or something he didn't play, but then ended up good. It's New England. Everyone knows the story with running backs.
You can never trust him.
You can't. But keep an eye on Harris because if Harris is down, you can definitely lock him in there. He's solid in that regard. So you have to keep an eye on him. Like you said, rostered in a lot of leagues, but he's a guy where, he's coming off a bye, so he's not on anyone's radar. And if he's not picked up yet, you can't imagine people are going to be bidding on him. So it's a good time to go grab him. You can probably grab him for cheap.
Yeah, I think you definitely got to pick him up. And if you think there's an inkling anyone else is interested, I wouldn't mind spending up on him too, because I think he's one of the few kind of stashes, your handcuffs, that you can still play as well as a flex, because I think he still will get 30 to 40% of the carries too.
Yep, absolutely. Next on our list here, Mr. Rex Burkh.
Mr. Not Sexy Rexy. It's not a sexy name, but he puts up floor type numbers for you.
Yeah, only rostered in 15% of leagues. He's getting carries, double digits, 3 out of the past 4 weeks. I think you would have liked to see more out of him this week with David Johnson going down, or not going down, but being put on the COVID list, not playing. So you would think he would get a little bit more of the workload and do a little bit more with it. And he did do a little bit more, I think, in the passing game. But overall, from an attempt standpoint, a yardage standpoint, it's pretty similar to past weeks. But, if you're desperate at running back, at least he's getting some volume.
Yeah, I mean, 15 touches, 66 total yards. So it's okay. It's not great. It's not horrible. 11 carries for 40 yards. It's a decent pop. And then 4 catches, which is, pretty crucial there. Only 26 yards, but you're getting that catch point or half point. So I probably, if I have a burner spot, pick him up as kind of that backstop for some COVID issues. But yeah, you're not going to be thrilled about playing him really in any capacity.
Agreed. Last two here, Will. Your Eagles, coming off the bye, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott, 13 and 22% rostered respectively. Got some good matchups. Washington this week, and then I think in 2 weeks, Washington again, something to that degree.
Yeah, and the Giants in the middle, so.
Yeah, so it's a good playoff schedule for both of them. Are you liking both? Either, you like a certain one over another? What do you think here?
It's tough to say. I mean, especially with the just uncertainty. They're obviously not New England, but they kind of feel like it with just every running back can be relevant at any time. You just don't know when it's going to be. I haven't heard anything yet on I said Adrian Peterson, Jordan Howard. Sanders had an ankle injury, and they haven't seen too much on him yet as well, and his availability for this week. So I think both Scott and Gainwell are good stashes to have, especially if one or two of the guys ahead of them are out. You're going to get some work, in games that are probably going to be competitive. We'll see if with the bye week, there haven't been any injury reports there. We'll see. I think all expectations are Jalen Hurts is going to come back. So, it just helps the overall offense out from a running perspective. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think they're both worth stashes. I don't know how much you're, throwing down on either of them, though.
Yeah, you can throw something at whatever one you like more, I guess. Because, it's hard right now. We don't have the info. I remember them saying Jordan Howard, they were hope was going to be ready for this week. But, obviously no new information is coming out with the bye week. So you just got to play it by ear. Take your shot if you want. You probably don't have to pay a lot for either of them, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you're going to have to spend up on them. So, two options that I think are another good, stashes, because you never know when something's going to hit, and they're guys that are going to get work if a couple of the guys ahead of them are down for any reason.
Takes care of the running backs here, Will. Moving over to the wide receivers, Alan Lazard had himself a nice game. But the first nice game in a while, I believe. He's only rostered in 4% of leagues, so he's out there if you want him, but he's pretty boom bust, right?
Yeah, very boom bust. I mean, I think the last time he had even decent numbers was a 1 catch for 20 yards and a touchdown, 8.5 back in week 9. So you have to look all the way back to week 6 and 7 to have just kind of consistent, relevant games. He's a guy that you can throw out there at any time. He had 7 targets, 6 catches, so it's good to see. But yeah, it's just you never know if it's going to be him, if it's going to be just 4 touchdowns to Devontae Adams, if MVS is going to be involved. But yeah, while Randall Cobb's out, while I think a couple other guys were out, you can play, your Lazard and your MVSs and hope it's, their week.
Yeah, it's a dart throw, but at least you're throwing a dart throw, when Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback and you got a good offense, right? Better that than like taking a dart throw on Nico Collins or something with the Texans or, just some random shot. So yeah, he's not bad there. Another one that had a good week, hard to trust, Robbie Anderson. I believe this is his second good week since Cam came back, if memory serves. Other weeks were forgettable, but it was a really nice week for him. Again, it was Atlanta. So, a lot of people have good weeks against Atlanta. They got Buffalo next week, Tampa the week after that. So not the best schedule coming up, but, if he's building some sort of rapport with Cam, which, it's going to take some time, maybe he can get a little bit better as the season progresses.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was reading too. So they split quarterback reps. So Anderson was 3 for 29 with Cam Newton and 4 for 55 and a touchdown with PJ Walker. So it does look like Walker's in the game for fewer snaps, but they were definitely going back and forth quarterback wise. So it's it's hard to make out. It's another guy that I'm not thrilled to play, but I think you could do worse, especially in the COVID world that we live in here, and how this each week is going to be just managing injuries as well as inactives.
Yeah, I agree. Another one's pretty interesting. Osborne out there in Minnesota, rostered in 38% of leagues. I think he had a good week, but he's also dependent on Thielen. I'm not sure that I've heard anything on Thielen. Have you?
No, I don't know. We know anything definitive, but I didn't imagine he'd be back. After just one game, and I think 9 targets, obviously one big touchdown, 62 yards made the week, but he seems like while Thielen's out, he's someone that you can definitely play. So I think he out of like these guys here, maybe one other guy that I would be wanting more than him, but I think he's probably one of the priorities at receiver here for me. Unless we get word that Thielen is definitely coming back soon, he is in the game plan, which is nice to see for sure.
And a kind of an interesting lens for Osborne, for any dynasty listeners out there, Thielen's not a young man. He will eventually go away, whether he, retires or he, leaves the team or, gets traded, whatever it will be. Eventually, you would assume he'd be gone. And Osborne's looked good. He's had some good weeks. I would feel comfortable him stepping up as a wide receiver 2 for that team behind Jefferson. So if he's out there, maybe you can, trade for him while he's kind of cheap now compared to a future state, or if he's on waivers, you don't have a super deep league. You could scoop him up. Interesting lens for Osborne there, I think.
Trying to tell me you want to trade for KJ Osborne in our Dynasty League, Steve?
I'm sure we could try. I don't know. It depends on the owner,
Yeah. Hey, we don't have to cut anyone as of now unless we make any trades. So.
We also don't have any picks to trade.
No.
But next up, your boy that we recently gave up on last week, Rashad Bateman.
Yeah. Bounces back.
He did. Rostered in 36% of leagues, 103 yards. Again, his normal kind of 8 targets. Kind of what we've been expecting for a long time. A nice big week for him. What do you think of Bateman there?
Yeah, and it was a tougher game too against Cleveland secondary. He was pretty good against the pass. Good pass rush as well. So, and I think we saw most of this without Lamar too, which is I guess somewhat surprising because he went out early and didn't come back. And the last I heard, they don't believe it's a high ankle sprain, which is a good sign. But they didn't officially say he's gonna be back this week. So I think you're gonna have to monitor. But it does look like the backup came in and Huntley did play well enough and got Bateman involved there, 8 targets. So definitely think he's worth rostering. Probably not thrilled to play him, but I think I play him over Lazard and Anderson probably. Maybe you take your shot on Lazard. KJ probably still the top of these 4, but he's definitely up there out of this list.
Yeah, he's got pretty safe volume. I mean, last week against Pittsburgh, he only had 1 target. The week before that, he had 4. But the prior 5 weeks, he had 6 or more. So, yeah, that's a pretty big sample for his target size. So, yeah, I would trust him probably more than the other 2 as well. You could probably get better upside out of like a Lazard on any given week because of Aaron Rodgers. And Bateman's had some good weeks, but he hasn't had like monster weeks yet. So I don't know. He's interesting.
Right. Next receiver here, we got Gabe Davis, only 3% rostered for the Bills, going up against Carolina this week. Seems like he might be creeping his way into kind of like that second favorite receiver target. We're not seeing a ton going to our boy Beasley. He's involved, but Manny Sanders seems to be falling out of it, where Gabe Davis comes up with these big catches.
Yeah, this is very similar to what we saw from Gabe last year. Towards the end of the year, he was very fantasy relevant, and that's just because he scored touchdowns. And then you look at the past 2 weeks, he hasn't done a whole lot. 43 yards this week, 30 the week before. But he got touchdowns on both, which puts him in double digit for scoring.
8 targets this week too.
Yeah, that's solid. A few weeks prior, he had 100 yards, so that was good. And a little bit before that, week 8, he had another touchdown. So he does, to a degree, live or die on the touchdown. If he's just 5 for 43 or 2 for 30, then you're not really happy.
Yeah.
But the touchdowns help. He's got Carolina this week. That's a fine matchup. Championship week 2, he's got Atlanta. that could be a championship-winning move right there if they go off. Atlanta's defense is not great. So, but he's just scary, Just because you're up against a bad defense doesn't mean you're going to do good necessarily. It just could be a Diggs and a Knox game, or, Diggs and some other random person kind of a day. And, you just never know. But you can, as we've said for other people on this show, you could take a shot on somebody worse for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather take the shot on him, than a Lazard. I almost did. I played MVS. We had a decent game as well, but I was thinking possibly Davis. So I think I'd rather take a shot on him than some of these other, upside guys.
Yep, final guy for the wide receivers here, Will. More of a reminder, Devontae Parker, coming off the bye week. Came back from the injury the week prior, had 62 yards, looked like an important part of the offense, as he typically has when he's played. It's just that he hasn't been playing. But you would assume, he came back, he played a full game, he had a bye week. If he's not 100%, he's closer than he has been for a long time.
Yeah, I like Parker. I think, out of these receivers, he's probably the one I'm most excited about. Solid game on his first game back. Seems to have good rapport with Tua and be a nice pairing there with Waddle. So Jets, New Orleans, Tennessee, the rest of the way, good, decent matchups. And I think Miami will be competing in all of those games. So they'll be having to rely on him.
Yes, sir. So moving over, Will, to the tight ends. It is not the best landscape in the world for the tight end position.
No, this is what I had to deal with this week with Waller out. I ended up playing Foster Moreau, which wasn't much better, but
yeah. So just reading off all the names here, we got Austin Hooper, Everett, Seals-Jones, Conklin, Kmet. Anybody, who do you like the most out of that group? Is there anybody you really don't want to touch? What do you think of that?
I like the volume of Kmet and the touchdown upside of Hooper. I feel like at this point, you just take your shot on Hooper every week and hope he gets in the end zone. I mean, Conklin, I thought it was going to be him, but it seems like they're using KJ Osborne and the running backs more than Conklin with Thielen out. So Seals-Jones is okay, decent option against the Eagles, who haven't been great against tight end. Everett, I think Russ is starting to get better and better and not having to rely on him more. So I think for me, it's Hooper if you want the touchdown upside, Kmet if you just want a decent floor volume. But most of the time, the play here at tight end is you want to, be a top 5 tight end. So touchdown upside is really the only way you get that. And I like what Kmet's done, but it just stinks that you have Jimmy Graham there just stealing all his touchdowns.
Yeah, I agree. It's probably Kmet for the volume. Hooper's not bad. He's also dealing with, Njoku was out. That other tight end I can't think of his name. He was out as well. So he's really the only option this week, but he's got decent touchdown upside. But I like Kmet. Conklin's hit or miss. Seals-Jones is splitting time with the other tight end that's there, and Everett's not getting the targets. So I'm with you. I'll stick with Kmet there.
And 2 more COVID updates. Kadarius Toney and Josh Gordon both put on the COVID list literally in the last 2 minutes.
Wow. Yeah, wow. Interesting.
Crazy.
Kadarius big, Josh Gordon not so much. In fact, I keep forgetting he's on a roster. Has he actually done anything?
Kadarius Toney? Oh, Gordon. He scored a touchdown, I think, this week.
Oh, did he?
Or last week. He's on the Chiefs.
Yeah, I knew he was on the Chiefs. I haven't seen his name.
One of the last 2 weeks, I think he scored. Maybe it was a 2-point conversion or something.
Yeah. So this week he went.
I know he goes in the end zone.
He had 3 targets. He caught 2 of them for 9 yards and a touchdown. Goose the week before that. Then there was a bye, and then he went 1 for 7. He's getting like a target a game, basically.
In the red zone, big body.
Yeah. Yeah, which is fine. Okay.
Yeah, not someone you're going to play, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on, Will, we got our streaming portion here. So from a quarterback standpoint, we got Taysom Hill at Tampa Bay, Tua versus the Jets, Garoppolo versus Atlanta, Mayfield versus Vegas, and Big Ben versus Tennessee. Who do you want?
I think the default answer has to be Taysom Hill because the rushing yards is a cheat code. He did not look good this week and ended up as a top 5 quarterback because he runs the ball and he had that 40-yard touchdown run at the end of the game, popped 10 extra points in one play, which is just something most quarterbacks can't do. So I think it's got to be Hill. Other than that, Tua and Garoppolo are interesting, especially Garoppolo against Atlanta. Atlanta might be able to put up some points to like keep Garoppolo going, but I mean, depends on who's healthy because that San Francisco might just be able to run all over them. And I don't know that I trust Miami's running game, so maybe you have Tua having to throw the ball more. So I would probably lean Tua slightly over Jimmy G from like a game script perspective, but Jimmy definitely has. I don't know. What do you think about Tua and Jimmy?
I'd win Tua pretty easily. In fact, I think I'd rather have Tua over Taysom. Even with the rushing upside, he had a good week this week, but it was against the Jets. The Tampa Bay defense is so good. I just don't see the same week happening. So I think out of this group, I would take Tua flat out, even over Hill. Jimmy's got a good matchup. He always has the potential to do something good, especially in a good matchup, but it could just be, death by running back for the Falcons here.
We'll
see.
And I hope for over Tua, it just feels like the ceiling is limited, man. He hasn't gotten over 22 points since week 7.
Yeah, maybe. But, the Jets cure a lot of wounds.
True. This is true. Comes down to can they run on them? If the Jets can hold the run up a bit, maybe you're throwing more, but this could be just a blowout like a lot of the Jets games.
And finally, defensive streamers here, Will. We got the Dolphins again at the Jets. We have the Vikings at Chicago. We got the Browns versus Vegas, the Eagles versus Washington, and the Jaguars versus Houston.
I think pretty easily Dolphins versus the Jets here for me. The other ones are interesting, especially if Heineke's out. You might be able to sneak a home Eagles game against a backup quarterback for Washington, so might be able to get something out of that. Only 20% rostered too, but I think I probably would lean to the Dolphins if possible. They're 47% rostered though.
Yeah, I would agree. I would take the Dolphins. It's a high rostership, so it's gonna be tough to see if you get them or not. But they seem like the obvious play. After that, probably go with the Browns. Vegas has just had such a tough run of it the past few weeks. I know we've talked about that before, but they've just been a mess. 39% rostered, a little bit easier to get a hold of. So I'm good with the Browns too, I think. And like you said, barring injury with Heineke, the Eagles could be a good play, but you'll have to watch for that one.
Yeah, it'll be one of those like the Chargers this week, kind of holding off, waiting to see which of the quarterbacks will play there for New York.
Awesome. Well, that's going to wrap up today's waiver show. Tune in on Thursday for our Start Sit episode for the week. But until then, folks, good luck on waivers and trust your board.